Shotguns can be some of the most satisfying weapons to wield in video games. Are they ideal for every situation? No. Can they be a pain to reload? Sure. Do they offer incredible destruction and visceral joy? Yes and yes. Sound design can go a long way in helping to achieve that, so let's look at shotguns with some of the most insanely satisfying sounds in video games. Remington 870 Black. One of the more underrated shooters of the PS2 era, Criterion Games' Black didn't skimp on the details, especially when it came to weapon sounds. The Remington 870 delivers nice, explosive-sounding shots. That much is a given, but it's the smaller details that are also worth listening to, like the faint metallic click after each shot, the sound of the shell being ejected, or even how each new shell sounds when it's being loaded in. Experimental SG-12, Generation 0. Generation 0 may not be remembered as one of Avalanche's best works, or even close to the same, but credit where credit is due for the sound design. The SG-12 pump action already sounded nice and chunky, but the experimental SG-12 is really where it's at. Its shells are explosive in nature, and there's almost an airburst sound going off prior to the explosion. The result is unique yet devastating in its own way. Overkill shotgun, Gears of War 4 and Gears 5. Introduced in Gears of War 4, the Overkill shotgun holds up to 4 shells that fires 2 rounds with each pull and release of the trigger. Thus, it actually doles out 8 shots with its ammo count. It offers more range than the Gnasher when firing 1 shot at a time, but the real fun begins when firing the weapon full auto. Each shot overlaps into one massive cacophony of violence, and though fairly inaccurate, it sounds glorious. TAC-14, Back for Blood.
You shot me!
Like that! Take this!
While the Super 90 sounds reasonable, and the AA-12 really comes alive when firing full auto, it's the TAC-14 that really shines. Every shot feels powerful and meaty. It might not necessarily be the best shotgun for every task, but it more than makes up for it in terms of sounding like it has sheer stopping power. And really, what more could you want? M45 shotgun, Halo 5.
Overkill.
The M45 shotgun has always been an absolute beast in the series, but the version in Halo 5 Guardians hits different. Maybe it's that perfect mix of sci-fi and real-world sound that helps it transcend the usual shotgun blast. Either way, it feels good and serves its purpose of destroying enemies and opposing players up close. Pump-action shotgun, Duke Nukem 3D. Many first-person shooters throughout the 90s managed to nail that visceral shotgun sound. That too despite the limited hardware available. Duke Nukem 3D's pump-action shotgun perfectly illustrates the difference between explosive sounding and actual explosions. And the reload sound isn't too shabby either. Jackhammer, Wolfenstein: The Old Blood. Fitting very well with Wolfenstein's fast-paced, gory combat, the Jackhammer was first introduced in Wolfenstein: The Old Blood, and though the Jackhammer X would replace it in the new Colossus and Youngblood, the original just sounds way better. Firing it is like unleashing an anti-air gun on your enemies, as each shot rips through like they're nothing. Being able to dual-wield it only amplifies that feeling even further. M37, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. The M37, nicknamed the Featherlight, is an interesting-looking weapon with its sawed-off barrel and stock, not to mention the lack of an ejection port, so it looks more than a little strange when reloading it from the bottom with an external rod. Nevertheless, each shot sounds nice and weighty without ringing out too much, delivering a satisfying punch when making contact with foes. Repeating shotgun, Red Dead Redemption 2. A lever-action weapon that's also a shotgun. It sounds as good as it looks, despite the low accuracy. Each fired shell packs a punch followed by a satisfying click, which Deadeye mode really helps to highlight. If you're looking to rampage through foes at mid-range, then the repeating shotgun is hard to beat. Hunting shotgun, killing floor. Many of the shotguns on this list are about delivering that visceral impact without outright killing your eardrums. The hunting shotgun in Killing Floor leans closer to the latter, especially when shoved right up against an enemy's skull. Not that we mind though. Hearing that brief, deafening rip followed by the blast has its own appeal. Jackhammer, Max Payne. One of the strongest weapons in the game, the Jackhammer, is a 12-gauge automatic shotgun that outright decimates foes. As such, it can sound pretty overwhelming when firing more than one shot at a time, but it turns into a symphony of destruction when unleashing all of its rounds at once. Definitely not for the faint of heart, but when dealing with a room full of enemies and hopped up on bullet time, there are few better delights. W870 shotgun, Resident Evil 2 2019. A shining beacon in the undead-ridden Raccoon City, the W870 shotgun will carry you through many tough situations. While not dramatically over the top, it's satisfying to fire and delivers the right amount of punch, especially when ejecting and loading more shells in. Hearing it tear through zombies, even if most tend to keep coming after you, is also great. Eviscerator, Mass Effect 2 and 3.
Hostiles up ahead! Down. Reinforce those processing. Shipment is loose.
The Eviscerator fills an interesting slot in the shotgun category, offering decent range and damage while not being that much more heavy. Sound-wise, it can sound fairly strong, especially when biotic charging into foes and aiming for their heads. While not the most explosive-sounding shotgun out there, it's definitely heavier than most in the series. Double barrel shotgun, Quake. Quake's double-barrel shotgun is a great example, annihilating foes with explosive-sounding shots that don't outright overwhelm the player. They still feel powerful though, and reinforce that feeling of being a nigh unstoppable ranger against the hellish world. Mastiff, Titanfall 2.
Great kills.
When the Mastiff debuted in the sequel, it presented something wholly unique. Its pellets would travel in a straight horizontal line, emitting an almost wave-like sound as they barreled towards their targets after the initial blast. Not even the very best in Apex Legends are safe from the Mastiff's ringing shots. The Super Shotgun, Doom 2016. Few weapons really make it feel like you're outright obliterating an enemy like the Super Shotgun, and Doom 2016's version is the best of the best. The sound of both its shells unloading at once before quickly reloading is very addictive, until you upgrade it to fire twice before reloading. It doesn't hurt that it's underlined by massive damage and ease of use. While its sequel had its own appeal with enemy weaknesses and the like, it's nice to hop into Doom 2016 and just lay waste to everything with the Super Shotgun. And that brings us to the end of the video. A quick request, we upload new videos every single day, and if you like what we're doing, please consider subscribing. It really helps us out. Also, don't forget to enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon so that you can receive daily video updates. Thanks for watching.